On this week's episode of Circles Off, we're doing a Super Bowl 57 recap. How did myself and Johnny fare on the Super Bowl? What were our biggest wins, our biggest losses? Any bets that we would take back if we could? We'll cover that and a variety of topics from the gaming space this week. All that and more on Circles Off, episode number 89.
Come on, let's go!
Welcome to Circles Off, episode number 89. Here as part of the Hammer Betting Network. Rob Pizzola, joined by Johnny from betstamp.
89, my guy, Kadarius Toney, on his old team.
Knish Tony.
Kadarius Toney.
Knish took a big L on Kadarius Toney. Hitman took a big L as well. I tailed that one and then played back on the under. Okay. I set myself up with a middle on Kadarius.
He did get the touchdown if you bet the anytime touchdown.
He got the tutter. There's a lot of 89 is like a huge tight end number in the NFL. But like not Mark Andrews is the good tight end, and then the rest of them are like Mercedes Lewis.
Oh, Mercedes Lewis, a legend.
Tyler Higbee,
Jared Cook,
Drew Sample, Donald Parham, Brock Wright, but obviously in the NHL,
Alex
McGillney,
Leafs legend Alex McGillney.
Yes,
Sam Gagne.
Steve Smith actually in the NFL also.
Oh, 89.
Forgot about that.
He was nasty.
One of the rare receivers. Santana Moss too. From my growing up, I used to draft Santana Moss in my pools. That's why I lost a lot of pools back in the day.
We get in trouble for not like saying people. Like we get tweeted like
the comments. How could you forget about this guy or whatever?
Yeah,
I'm not going to name every single player.
When we're about to doing it, people are like, "Oh, like we're doing 88," and then there's a guy like, "Yeah, Marvin Harrison."
Yeah.
Why aren't they saying Marvin Harrison?
Of course. Why aren't they saying Mike Comrie, 89? It's like I'm never going to. He did wear
Mike
89.
Comrie, did he? Yeah,
yeah.
The former.
Mike Comrie.
Is he still married to Hillary Duff?
I think so. I think that was it. I mean, I'm trying to think of like active player. Buchnevich wears 89.
Barkley Goodrow.
No, like but
it's from Aurora, so
yeah.
Shout out to Barkley Goodrow.
All right, that's
Super Bowl recap. First and foremost, Rob's show, formerly our show. Rob did it this year. I was away on biz. Maybe we'll do it again here next year. Who knows?
Sure.
But first year, last season, if you tailed every pick, that was a dub. This year, if you tailed every pick, another dub, and I actually counted it fairly. So 3% ROI if you tailed every pick from the 23 guests and myself. I included Spanky's heads at plus 100, which was like kind of a joke pick, but he gave it out. And honestly, I felt bad saying this in the recap video that I did on Forward Progress. But for most people, betting heads at plus 100 is actually the best EV play they would have made in the Super Bowl. You're probably right, especially when I saw some of the bets that came in that were sent to me every Super Bowl morning. I would say I'd have to count how many messages I get, but it's usually between like 30 to 50 for the past couple of years. Like, hey, what bonuses you got? What stuff's going on? What am I betting today? Who do you like? Chiefs, Eagles, whatever. I'm sure you get the same Super Bowl morning. A lot of people. The amount of bets that came across in the text on there were hilarious. Like someone was like, send me a bet. Is this a good bet? It was team to win the opening, like team to win the coin toss wins the game at minus 120, which is literally, if you have plus 100, then I guess that could be considered an edge. That's break even at plus 100.
Exactly.
And that's like even worse than the coin toss at minus 10.
Well, listen, I mean, if you're betting the coin toss at even money, plus 100, it's zero EV bet. Like it's fair odds. It's the exact fair odds. Most people you get together with for the Super Bowl, a lot of them haven't even placed a bet yet. So it's like an hour till game time and they're trying to fire off bets. They're going to bet minus 110, minus 150. They're betting into these markets with like 5% hold. You're better off actually betting the coin toss. I say that in all seriousness. I was telling people that. Like people that, my friends who wanted to get in a bet, I'm like, pick heads or tails at plus 100.
At plus 100, though.
At plus 100.
By the way, I had a bet on tails at plus 101. Did I send you a screenshot?
No.
$680.
Great. That's
plus
great.
101.
It's a great bet.
Cash it.
Not because it won, because it's
I know.
some EV.
Like
not a great bet. I'm exaggerating.
Couple bucks in EV. What I was going to say, actually, I saw this earlier. One of the sports books here in Ontario, big sports book, BetMGM, was getting some slack on Twitter for offering the coin toss at, was it minus 15?
Minus 115, both sides.
Minus 115 aside, all right? I want to come in, actually in defense of the sportsbook in this situation. Here's what I got.
I'll let you say your piece, and then I'll say my piece on this as well.
All right. most sports books will offer the coin toss at minus 110. That's the standard currently, meaning they're going to make 4.55% for every $100 that's wagered, regardless, if they split action. There is some sports books, aka DraftKings, which was offering,
plus 100.
Plus 100 per side. They said, you know what? We're going to use this probably as a customer acquisition technique. You can come in here. You want to bet the coin flip, zero EV. You're like negative, no positive. Come here, go ahead and bet it.
Some books, sorry, even just to interrupt you, some books actually boosted the odds on the coin toss one way or another.
So plus 100 for if you want tails, and if you want heads, minus 110.
Unibet was plus 135 on heads.
For a promo bet.
For promo bets, yes, exactly.
Of course. I'm not even talking promo bets. I'm not talking like the ones where you can only get $50 down. Obviously, those bets you're just going to take. It's the same as taking the promos. I'm talking here actual limit bets where you can actually go ahead and bang a good pop, obviously, if your account's not restricted. What I'm going to come in defense of is if anybody is out there who is going to bet the coin toss at minus 110, which is something that you could clearly, and everyone in the world can clearly quantify and identify is a 50-50 shot. If you're going to bet that at minus 110, then you are certainly betting that also at minus 115, if that's the only sports book you had. Meaning, if you're a customer and you want to bet it, I may have even gone the other way. If I was on the other end of the table, if I was in their shoes, I might go coin toss, minus 150 per side. Minus 150, minus 150. The amount of people that are going to bet that at minus 110, it's already such bad value that person has already told you, I do not give a shit about the odds. I'm just betting this. You might as well just take more from them. And if you're going to go ahead and do that, go max it and take whatever limits you want and enjoy and let people bet. So I'm not an advocate in saying like juice the guys and make sure you take more of the customer, but all in, if you're not going to offer it at like plus 100 as a promo, I wouldn't even offer it at minus 110. I'd go deeper. I'd go minus 30 or something like that.
So a lot of the complaints about that, the minus 115 at BetMGM, or that it's predatory, right? Like that's what a lot of people say, oh, it's predatory and this and that.
Minus 110 is predatory.
Any betting then is kind of predatory in a sense, right? Like you're offering people what you deem, like the house thinks they have an advantage with the VIG. The whole thing for me is that I don't deem it as predatory because there's actually so many other options in market. Like it's one thing if every single shop is offering minus 115 and that's like the industry standard. And then we can say, okay, like this is getting ridiculous at this point. And that won't happen because it's such a competitive market now that you do see the promos and stuff like that. You do see the plus 100 both sides. So honestly, I disagree with that. Sportsbooks are in it to make money. Part of that is taking advantage of the player base. Now, if I was running my book, I'm not doing it in a way where, I'm trying to inflict lifelong problems on people. That's, I think, totally out of line. It does happen with VIP programs and whatever. It's in the interest of winning money. The issue that I had with the BetMGM one, though, which made me laugh, is they were capping bets at like $250.
I think that was just already a restricted account.
It might have been, but it's still funny. Even if an account is restricted, right?
Yeah, I know. That's part of the issue. It's like when you're restricting accounts, you're literally going to restrict the guy also on the coin toss.
He's making the word like the only. If that's a restricted account and it's restricted because that person is identified as a long-term winner, and he's finally wants to bet into a market where he doesn't have an edge, and you limit him to 250, I find that hilarious. But
that is actually funny, especially because like that's a certified, quantifiable negative 5% edge.
Yep. I listen, for me, it's an open market. Like sportsbooks can operate however they want. And the ones who operate in the ways that I think are more conducive to the vast majority of players will be the ones that sustain success in the long run. And that's why we actively preach Pinnacle here on Circles Off. I went through the entire board on the pizza buffet on Sunday. I'll talk about a horrible bet I made. No, not a horrible bet I made. I'll retract. A great bet that had a horrible result. But I did that at Pinnacle Sportsbook. Pinnacle, the world's sharpest sportsbook, available to bettors in Ontario. Find out what pro bettors have known for decades. Pinnacle is where the best bettors play. You must be 19 plus, not available to those in the United States. But yeah.
What was the coin toss odds at Pinnacle?
Minus 102, both ways.
Fair. At least you're not, if you want to make a fun bet, at least you're not getting too
That's what I'm saying.
Out, right? And at the end of the day, like if you're going to bet the coin toss at minus 115 at BetMGM, and you're too lazy to go open an account at any of the other sports books or fund an account at any of the other sports books, you deserve to just get that minus 15.
I agree. Like it's a. You know, I made bad bets on the coin toss before. I was a very recreational bettor for the large portion of my life, where I was laying minus 110 every year on the coin toss just because I wanted like to sweat a fun bet with my friends. And at that time, there were no other options really. Like, you know, I was a Canadian betting PPH accounts, but like to deposit into an offshore in those days, the banks would block the transactions. I couldn't even get money in if I tried. So I was just like forced to do that in some capacity. I think that's not right, I guess, in the spirit of the sports book. But now there's so many options. Like there's tons of options. We're lucky to be in Ontario where we have 30 plus sportsbook operators. In the US, depending on your state, you probably have at least a handful. And if you're getting minus 115 on a coin toss, then it takes 2 seconds to go somewhere else and make a deposit where you're getting plus 100, for example. Even money bet.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, how was your Super Bowl?
I quickly want to give a shout out to the sneakiest moment of the entire stream that we did.
Okay.
Remember, Rob, diamonds last forever.
Diamonds last forever. Yes. That was a Spanky, my first guest, who, listen, I told Spanky this beforehand. I'm not having him on for his football expertise, right? Want to bring in an audience to
football
start
acumen.
to get the things going, get a little bit excited. I remember vividly hearing him say that.
Same.
Because I believe he said diamonds last forever, and so does spank odds.
Yes, he
and
did.
I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's great. Like I didn't process it in real time, but there was a hidden message in there. Diamonds last. Super Bowl. Diamonds, last song of the halftime show, which at that time was available at 10-1 in market, 9-1 in market, then got bet pretty heavily one way. But even Spanky came through. I didn't count that towards the record. I'm not counting hidden messages towards the record.
Could have bet Diamond's last song.
He could have bet Diamond's last song. Remember, Rob, Diamonds last forever, and so does Spank. It's at Rob Pizzola with the Diamond.
What did you think on the dress, Rihanna's dress fiasco?
Well, I mean, I think it was a red dress.
Yeah.
I think it was a red dress. I can understand like the TV colors and whatever. It depends on which TV you're watching, but it's pretty clear with the images of like her walking into the stadium that it was a red dress. So you can't grade two dress colors as the winner. It's either red or it's pink. It's not both.
It is what it is.
It is what it
is. It was red.
I mean, listen.
Liked Captain Jack's joke after with the Gatorade color.
Oh, that was funny. I did laugh.
Funny.
I mean, listen. I think a lot of what Captain Jack was doing over the course of that day was prodding, so to speak, at other people with the comments. Like, I think he very much knew that the dress was red, but he was trying to keep it going, which I actually found a little bit amusing because most people didn't catch that sarcasm. They just thought it was all real, and he really thought everything that he was saying. But Super Bowl went pretty well for me.
My pick on the stream was a winner.
Boom.
Back
Me and
in the
you. We saved the stream, man.
And Luke.
And lay it with Luke, who we had in studio here last year. The three winners at the end of the stream brought us into the profit. But yours was sweat-free because like Miles Sanders fumbled the first play of the game, and then he went to the locker room, and he was just like, that was it, cooked. But that was a great play regardless.
Under 1.5 catches, and I even said, I'd take under one catch as well, which also would have won at around plus 140 or more. Glad to give out a winner. It feels nice. Hate giving out losers.
Yes, agreed. Jalen Hurts' anytime touchdown was nice as well. Get it out of the way quickly as well. As soon as I saw Gainwell go down,
you knew
like,
he was down.
It was like,
I knew he was down. I saw.
It kind of felt like that, but then on the replay, I'm like, oh, this is cashed. It's done. They would sneak that 4 times if they had to before they hand it off. But I had a really big winner and a really big loser on the Super Bowl. So the big winner was Jalen Hurts' last touchdown of the game, which I got roughly at plus 900 or so.
What was the rationale behind that bad boy?
It was just because I thought the anytime was so mispriced that I basically bet him wherever I could.
First and last as well.
Yeah.
But he got first and last.
Yes.
And anytime.
Yeah.
Do you have the first as well?
Yeah, but not a ton. Not a ton. The one that I got cooked on was the one that I bet on Super Bowl Sunday as I was doing the live stream of Pizza Buffet on Pinnacle. I came across a prop that I had to do a double take on. And the prop was will any kick in the Super Bowl hit an upright or crossbar or however it was worded, basically. And
will it doink?
Will it doink, basically. And I'm looking at the price on this, and I'm like, this cannot be the right price. Like minus 570 on the no. That's 85% implied probability. I'm like, this has to be closer to 95%. And
so where was that at Pinnacle?
I bet it at Pinnacle. I bet it elsewhere as well. Try to average my cost. 5-figure loss on that bet. Very depressing because of the way in which I called that. On the stream, I only said Harrison Butker.
Yep.
I did not mention Elliott. I only said Harrison Butker. I watched the Super Bowl with Zach, and he can attest to this. We don't have video, but as he lined up for that kick, I said it's going to hit the left upright.
Yep.
And it hit the left upright.
Just a straight doink, not even doink in.
As soon as I saw it curving, I was like, oh, I'm thinking like, okay, this might miss, but boom, doink, right off the upright, all the plus 400s or whatever cash. I would make that bet again. I honestly would.
Saw somebody post a ticket of that, plus 310.
Oh my God.
Worst price in the market.
See, this is the thing that really upsets me is because I get into this argument. I do content on the Mayo Media Network as well, weekly, with Pat Mayo and Cam Stewart. Both are more recreational bettors. And they honestly know how to get under my skin. And they will needle me on stuff like this all the time. They'll be like, plus 310, it's a winner. You lost your bet. And I'm trying to explain to them like the rationale and like the plus 310 is first of all, it's a terrible price.
Yeah, like 1 in 4 games. Is it?
And they're like, well, he's got $310 and you lost 570. How do you feel about it? I'm like, well, I lost a lot more than 570. But yeah, like there's no argument you can make with that person at that time. And listen, I get betting is for fun as well. And some people just want to make entertaining bets. And we've talked about this a lot. There's nothing wrong with that. But like, we're price sensitive. We preach price sensitivity. Even if I want to make a recreational entertaining bet, I'm still going to look for a better price. Like, I would never settle for plus 310 on that bet.
I love gambling as much as the rest of us, but it's not that fun to bet that at plus 310. Like, it's just you're probably going to lose that bet. It's just like, it's tough to do. So yeah, I got you, but it is what it is. Would you play it again next year at the same price?
Yeah, because I think I didn't know this actually going in, but apparently I think 4 of the last 6 Super Bowls had a field goal or a kick hit an upright.
Doink.
And that's why it was priced this way. Let's be real here. Because
yeah,
it's like the safety prices when they changed after there was safeties in the Super Bowl.
Buddy,
right?
If I tell you for 6 years in a row after the Ravens 49ers Super Bowl, I bet no stadium blackout. I wish they would offer this again right now. Literally no stadium power outage was offered because there was one power outage.
I mean, but so it's like a recency bias type thing. Of course, I'd make that bet again. Of course, I would make that if they offered that bet for every single NFL game for the rest of the time. I'd bet every single NFL game minus 170, no kick to hit the upright.
Minus 570.
Minus 570. But there was some other sweats like Kevin Davis, who hosts 90 Degrees right here on the Circles Off YouTube channel as well. The ball's on that guy. Most people who come on like the Super Bowl prop stream, like, you get people who come on and they're looking to give like a long shot, like a big winner. We had a Harrison Butker MVP, 350 to 1.
Could not have lost more.
Right, exactly. First kick missed, right? So, which I don't care. I mean, you're swinging for the fences. You want to be the hero. Joey Knish comes on. Kadarius Toney, first Chiefs reception, 8 to 1. You want to be a hero? Fine, be a hero. Kevin Davis comes on and he's like, I'm laying minus 750 on no kicker to miss 2 or more field goals in the game. And of course, first kick of the game, missed field goal, the amount that guy must have been sweating. The Super Bowl is no longer enjoyable at that point.
You're sweating Butker, that last kick. You're like, please make this kick.
Of course. And like from the 19-yard line, and I actually had a prop on it not to go to overtime as well.
Oh, that's good. Then you got
that Butker kick at the end.
Well, it wasn't even the Butker kick. It was more the penalty call.
That as well.
That was going over.
That was well. Lots of things worked in my favor there, but
game was almost scripted.
There was, 37-34 was the wrong script. 38-35.
Close.
Close.
Where'd you guys watch the game?
In my dungeon in the basement.
Yeah, you had the boys over or what?
Yeah, I had the Hammer HQ team, producers Zach Phillips behind the glass here, Jacob, Jason Cooper, and my director of content, Alex Moretto, partner in crime. It was a fun game. It was just like a little bit of a letdown.
What was the combined net wins or losses there? Combined net ROI from the team.
I would say very high, but honestly, for most of us, it just came down to what the anthem time was.
You guys went hard on the anthem.
We made, like, you know, you have general idea of what the anthem time is going to be, but like there was middles that happened on the anthem this year, depending on the books. There's 30 books in Ontario. Not every single one offered the anthem time, obviously. It's just like a handful. But then you have some other accounts and so on. So that was a good start. But we had a lot of the same bets, I would say. There wasn't guys really rooting against each other a whole lot. I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but I think most people had a good night.
Good. Glad to hear.
Yeah, I just really wanted to see the Eagles try to drive. Like it just felt like from a neutral, like, forget about betting aside. And I won't make commentary on the call. I actually, in hindsight, think it was the right call. During the broadcast, when it was happening, they really did not show the hold on the initial break from the receiver.
The second one.
They just kept showing like the ticky-tack down the field stuff. I'm like, that's not a hold. And Greg Olson, the commentator, I actually think is very good, but he's very fixated on that as well. And then like post-game, you kind of got all the angles and you saw the initial hold, and you have James Bradbury come out and say it was a hold. But that was... It put a damper on what could have been maybe the greatest Super Bowl ever if the Eagles like went down the field
and scored a titter and just with like no time left.
Exactly.
You know what though? I will say, like, they usually don't call those. So yeah, it was a hold, but like they usually don't call that. It is kind of a soft call for that scenario. So I'm with the whole football media stuff. At the end of the day, if you just evaluate every single penalty and every single play, you'll find at least one penalty, if not more, on every single play. In between someone doing a holding or an illegal hands to the face or something like that, or a bump. And so even on pass, like on any catch downfield, if you want to, you can kind of call a pass interference. There's no real standardized rules. So it is what it is. They called it as is. That's why, you know, if you lost a lot of money, unfortunate, but that's why, you know, bet responsibly, bet within your means, bankroll manage. If you had a ton tied to the Eagles or anything like that, it sucks to lose like that, you know?
One thing I found very interesting the day after the Super Bowl, so that was on Monday of this week, was a tweet from Barry Horse on Twitter. Barry Horse is he kind of emerged as a big baseball bettor several years ago. Is now working with a larger group. Doesn't tweet all that much anymore in terms of stuff, but he tweets on February 13th. Curious, if you bet last night's game and the same game was played again next week with the same players and health levels, who did you bet on, and would you bet them again?
What are the results here?
So the result,
I voted as well.
I voted on this as well. So 796 votes came in. I bet KC and would rebet KC 52%. Bet KC and wouldn't rebet KC 13%. Bet Philly and would rebet Philly 29%. Bet Philly and wouldn't rebet Philly 6%.
So 58% of people would bet on KC right now by those numbers, and in the previous there was actually 64% of people. So a 6-person swing would have actually went from KC to betting on the Eagles based on the game, despite the fact that that KC won.
Agreed. Now I voted on this poll even though I didn't bet the game, because like sometimes I just want to see there's like a see review results button somewhere or something like that. I never click that. I just click. So I voted bet KC and would rebet KC because it's the top option and I wanted to see the results. But what I find so fascinating about this, and there's a long thread that accompanies this later on that day from Barry Horse. The game was basically a coin flip before the game and turned out to essentially be a coin flip. Disagree? Agree?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
80% of the people would make the exact same bet on a coin flip before the game that turned out to be a coin flip. Do you not find that like extremely funny to me? Like is anyone have so much conviction that they're like, no, for sure, it was KC was the right side, Philly was the right side.
I'm pretty sure like the Eagles outplayed, like the Eagles were I don't believe in any of this stuff. When you say like the right side,
yeah, no,
like the Eagles definitely were the team that should have won the game. Given where they were at the half, like the way they played, the Eagles should have definitely won the game. But when you say should have, it's like, not really. Like it was still a coin flip. Like at no point where the Eagles, like the highest they were was roughly just before the half, which would have been in and around the range of, let's say, fair price minus 325. Minus 325. It's a significant favorite, but those lose every day. Those lose,
of course,
all the time.
And if you look at a football game over the course of the season, you're going to have a very high percentage that go higher than that type of odds at some point.
You didn't have like the Eagles at one point at like minus 6,000 and then.
But what I'm laughing about is there's so much conviction in these results, and it's a small sample, 796 votes. Who knows how many of them are actually real or not? But like if you bet KC or Philly, how do you walk away from that game being like, just like you absolutely had the right side of the game? Like the game came down to the wire, was in my opinion as close to a coin flip as you can get, where there was several times over the course of the game where things changed pretty aggressively. I just find this hilarious. Like, this is so fun. Like, it's like confirmation bias. I don't know what it's just the weirdest thing. Like, if I bet either side of this game and I saw what happened in the game, there's no way I would have rebet it at any point. It's like 0% chance. Like, the game was so close. How like
you wouldn't rebet this at minus 110 aside?
No,
you just leave it. Fair enough.
Whatever the price was before the game. In my opinion, this was a very good price on the Super Bowl. I mean, Pinnacle Sportsbook was taking $550K US dollars on the side at kickoff.
Yeah, FYI, don't operate in the US. Rob's just saying currency equivalent.
Right. For our audience that's in the US, you'd understand that's $775K Canadian. Okay? As soon as they opened up their live betting, they opened it up at $50K a pop immediately to start the game. This is like, they're very, 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 very confident in this number. Extremely confident. All the bets that they've processed over the course of the week. And then the game turns out to be a coin flip. And there's still people who would just like, no, KC was the right side, Philly was the right side. I don't.
What was the worst bet you saw placed on the game, on the big game?
That's a good question. I don't know that there's one that stand out to me that rattled me. I don't know.
The worst value bets are usually, from what I've seen, the worst value bets are people who bet on the stuff that's already the known info and they bet the wrong thing. So like if you bet the Rihanna first song and you didn't have the info and you just took one that was like plus 2,500, that's typically one of the worst bets. Second worst is like if you take the person to show up alongside Rihanna, like
Jay-Z.
Yeah, Jay-Z. Like those are, have those won? Like there's had to have won at one point.
There was a few there's definitely been a few Super Bowls where there has been someone that's accompanied the main person. Recently.
You'd have to pick who, and usually it's no.
I know, of course, like that. There's,
I think those are the worst bets overall.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's not predatory by the sports book because people want to bet this stuff, but like, there's not enough education out there about the novelty props that if you're gonna go bet it, like right before the game time or whatever, like the outcome is already known and it's been processed in the market for the most part.
Yeah, it's not much value.
Well, one of the books that I saw had 3 people in minus money to show up alongside Rihanna. 3 people. It was A$AP Rocky, Jay-Z, and Drake. They were all minus to show up, and there was no option to bet no appearances. Mm-hmm. And like people are obviously betting that.
It is what it is.
Wow.
I saw another bet that I really dislike is people who bet MVPs and then they take the players who are like right in the no man's land.
Oh yeah.
So I do think the biggest negative EV bets on the MVP market are actually typically on like the running backs. So you'd have like Sanders, Pacheco, like
Pachenko as late
Boston
with Luke
Scott.
Yeah.
Guys like Sanders, like to win the MVP, it's like 2,400. and the shot at which it takes from the win the MVP is like so much less likely than 2,400. Like even with the hold that's already being built in, which is typically bigger on those markets, and you factor in the fact that it's like super unlikely for him to win in that scenario. Like I think those are probably the worst value bets that involve the actual game and the thinking. Obviously, if you're going to just take like coin toss at certain amounts and like that stuff's just like known edges. But worst bets I think typically are those three I mentioned, like the novelty stuff when you just kind of pick and choose and you're like, whatever. Jay-Z might come on. Let me toss $100 on that, and then the MVP market's there. But a lot of fun bets as well come Super Bowl and some good stuff.
What was your, I won't even say biggest win, but like your favorite bet that you placed that cashed? And then on the opposite side of things, what was like the one that hurt the most?
So favorite bet that cashed, honestly, like for the fun of it, like the tails plus 101. Like again, it wasn't a big bet or anything. It's just like, hey, like I got this, let me take it. So that was fun just to see it win. Like you lose that, I would have kind of been rattled. Like, damn it, like lost this bet. Best bet, favorite bet I made that I was like, was just an easy, quick winner was Miles Sanders under 3.5 yards first carry. And then it was just like a quick one that just bounced first play of the game. And then bet that I lost that was a little, it's like just because of, overall, like the way that it kind of progressed was actually like Jalen Hurts MVP. I had like super good numbers on that. And then that's essentially after he gets the 3 touchdowns or even before then, it's like, all right, Hurts is the MVP as long as the Eagles win the bowl.
Yep.
It's locked and loaded. As soon as he got the second rushing touchdown, it's like not even at the end of the first half. You're like, this guy can't not win MVP if Philly wins it.
Agreed.
I'm good here. And then you just see Philly blow the game. So at that point, I guess I did have a position on Philly essentially at the money line, although I didn't have that bet directly.
Did you have any like big, like minus 1,000 losses or in that range or anything like that?
No losses.
That's good.
All winners in that
That's
range.
good. Those are the ones that suck.
Yeah, I had all winners in those, and then I had pretty much all losers in the high pluses.
Yeah.
So it was one of those years.
Yep. Yeah, aside from the Hurts last touchdown, I didn't have any big plus money, like big plus money ones.
Yeah, that's it. I had I guess I don't want to like say too much about all the stuff I had, but I had a bunch of props that were in the range of like plus 800 to like plus 2,000 on one certain bet type that I was pretty bullish on. And then just never came to fruition on any of them. So got swept on those ones. It is what it is.
That happens. At least it was a good game, man. That's it. We've had a couple good games in a row. I think last year Bengals Rams kind of ended in the same like lackluster way. It was just like,
well, it had that also holding call near the goal line as well. That resulted in TD.
Yep.
All right. What else we got to talk here?
I got a question real quick for
Zach.
Johnny. Last thing for Super Bowl, because I obviously talked to Rob about this. The biggest halftime promotion of all time. Rob Gronkowski kick.
Oh my God. I forgot
this.
We didn't even mention that. I lost. I did have that. So I had Gronkowski minus 230. Yes.
Okay, so you had Gronkowski minus 230, yes. I can't remember the exact prices I took, but I did same game parlays with Chiefs to win and Gronk to make the kick, Eagles to win and Gronk to make the kick, just because it paid better. Basically, it was like better price than taking the minus 230 if I was doing that.
Fair enough. So yeah, you just basically just double the bet. You know you're going to lose one.
Exactly. So first of all, this is my own fault. By the way,
I missed it. By the way,
okay.
I don't know. In real time?
I probably went to go grab a beer or something. And I missed it.
I'm the asshole here. So I preach this all the time to people, and I'm going to eat my words here or just admit fault. I'm the guy that says, like, you got to know the rules. You got to know what you're betting with all these bet types and whatever. For some reason, I thought Gronk was just going to come out onto the field at some point in the game, and he was just going to fucking kick a field goal.
No, I knew it wasn't at the actual field.
See,
but it was supposed to be live.
It was live.
But it was supposed to be
this
live.
was the biggest fucking joke I cannot even believe that this actually happened.
FanDuel better give me a refund right now for this bet.
You mad, bro?
I was very mad because first of all, I watched it. I thought it went in. Okay. I've seen the alternate angle now.
You still win. Like they just had it already. What was that?
I got to be very careful with my words here because I've never, I talk about things not being rigged and whatever. I'm not suggesting that this is rigged in any way. It looked like a CGI kick, bro.
Yeah.
It didn't even look like this was real life. I never seen the ball move that way and everyone's like, oh, it was really windy in Arizona and whatever. Do you see the ball move on that 25-yard field goal? It was absurd how far, and then there was the one that circulated around Twitter, which is just the uprights and the ball disappearing behind the upright. It looked very clear in that picture. Now, listen, I'll accept the L. I'm going to eat the L. It's on me. And I did see that side, the side angle.
That wasn't right.
This was horrendous. Now, listen, we're talking about it. At the end of the day, FanDuel wants us to be talking about this right now. But
I'm going to bleep their name.
In terms of execution of this promotion, horrendous. Horrible. They did all these commercials beforehand, and it was literally a commercial during the game where they said it was live. We have no freaking clues out in the desert in some other field.
And it just came on.
It just random. Here's Gronk, and he drops to his knees after he misses the kick, and there's some fireworks. And it took me minutes to process what happened. I actually just sat there in disbelief of what I watched. We were all looking. It was quiet. We were all just like, "What did we just watch?"
I was with a bunch of guys watching the game who were betting, and they primarily use, they'll use a bunch of books, but they had bets on FanDuel, and then they'd be like, they're just like, "Oh, come on, dude! Like, what is this? What do I get? What do I get? A $5 casino spin? Like, I don't even give a shit." Everyone was just rattled at that, man.
I don't know. I'm an idiot, man. Obviously, in hindsight, they weren't going to just bring Gronk onto the field to kick a field goal during the Super Bowl.
At least buy like a 30-second slot for that. They just it was like what was it? 15 seconds? 10 seconds?
I cannot. I don't have the words to explain what I witnessed there. But whatever I did was such. And by the way, like Gronk, here's the thing. This to me, I'm exaggerating when I say this, but I don't even want Gronk in the Hall of Fame anymore. You're a pro. you're a pro athlete, and you've been practicing for weeks on this, and you can't kick a 25-yard field goal. Come on, man. This is Rob Gronkowski, professional athlete, built like a fucking truck. The guy who took Frank Brank yard in college. Nobody knows what I'm... Yeah.
Frank Brank he was a pitcher?
Frank Brank was on our Forward Progress Super Bowl stream, gave out a winning bet, combined under Mahomes Hurts passing yards. Guy's multi-sport player. You know what I'm saying?
Gronkowski played ball?
Played baseball. Nobody wanted to pitch to that guy. He's just taking everybody
just a
to
bomber.
Town. But what the fuck was that, man? It was anyways.
Good shit.
I don't want to see that gimmicky shit during the Super Bowl anymore. I don't want to see it. I hope nobody does that anymore. I hope this to me was the points bet Drew Brees stuff was like a disaster. Some of the dumbest marketing I've ever seen. This is coming from a non-marketer, by the way, and I'm still talking about the points bet Drew Brees thing. But this one was on another level. Like, it outdid the shittiness of that Drew Brees lightning strike. Like, it was so shit. Unbelievably.
I can't believe I bet on that, man. That was just absolute dust.
I have myself. I'm not blaming anybody but myself. I know I've said all this stuff about... Ultimately, I clicked the submit button. It's on me. I should have known what was coming.
Fair enough. What else we got to talk about today? I know we had a couple things here.
So I want to get your thoughts on the Minty Bets tweet.
The mint.
So Minty Bets, at Minty Bets on Twitter, was on the UFC broadcast. I'm not a big UFC fan anymore.
Yep.
I was back in the day.
You know I'm a massive fan.
What was the event?
For this week?
Yeah.
Volkanovski versus Makhachev.
So I think she was on before this. What was the week before?
This was from the Spivak fight. It was from 2 weeks ago.
So she came under fire a lot for a couple of things.
Yeah, this was all time. A lot of people gave her shit for this.
Yes. So one was a response to a tweet where someone asked her what under 2.5 means if you're betting a UFC fight. And the response is on screen. Under 2.5 means it cannot enter the third round. In my experience, it doesn't literally have to be under the halfway point of the second round for you to cash your bet. However, this may be different per book. in my opinion, it could be a discrepancy that you found under 2.5 minus 190 and not to start round 3 minus 150.
So the guy who was saying this, he wasn't just asking her, hey, what does under 2.5 mean? He was like, I think I found like an arbitrage opportunity where I can bet like the over on this round and the under 2.5 on this round, which was obviously not the case, given that he was unaware that under 2.5, for those who don't know listening, it's not like a run in baseball where if you get 2 runs, it's under 2.5. It's literally, the rounds are 5 minutes. It's literally 2 minutes and 30 seconds of that round is 2.5. So you have to go 2 rounds plus 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then if you're 2:31 in, and that would hit.
Right. So this was the perfect storm for Minty Bets that night because there was this tweet and there was also the fact that she gave out picks on the broadcast and they all lost.
No, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So it was not a great night for her on social. Which honestly, it shouldn't really matter because they usually have Johnny the Greek on that broadcast. And there's people who I know that are actually retired off of fading his picks on the UFC. I don't know why I didn't jump in on that earlier. But anyway, she came under a lot of fire for this specific tweet. And I get it, for one. You are a betting analyst or portray yourself as a betting expert in the space. You got to know this stuff, period. And if you're going to respond and put it in writing or put it on a video and it's just totally incorrect, I mean, you deserve, you don't deserve people, some of the things people say on social are just undeserving in general. But is it fair for people to have backlash when you portray yourself as a betting analyst, betting expert? Yes, I think it is 100%. Now, she does say in this tweet that it may be different per book. It's almost like, okay, this is what I think. Go and consult your book, see what it's like. I have never seen a book that grades this any differently than this. Have you?
I will say there is none.
Okay. So in the tweet, there is some like positive, like there is a message there that I think people can take home, which is, there are different book rules. I've never seen anything differently. With that said, I think getting backlash for this tweet is fair, personally. Getting backlash for being on the UFC broadcast, I think is unfair. Maybe a little bit fair, but mostly unfair. Because
if you were asked, would you accept that job?
This is what I'm saying, right? Like, put yourself in the shoes of someone who's in the betting space right now, creating content, putting out picks, doing whatever, and the UFC comes to you and says, we want you to give out betting picks on our broadcast. The vast, vast majority of people are going to say yes. So, like, she got asked to be on the UFC broadcast. She gave out picks on the broadcast. She did her job. I didn't watch it. I didn't see it. For all the negative stuff that she got, there's a lot of people giving positive reinforcement saying she did a good job. I don't know what the goals for the UFC are on that broadcast, but people think it's like, oh, just put someone on the broadcast that's going to give me winners. Like, think about everything that goes into producing something like this. There's a sportsbook sponsor. There's a demographic that they're trying to reach. For all we know, she did exactly what was asked of her in that position. And 99% of the people out there would do it. I don't even bet the UFC. If you ask me to be a UFC betting analyst and go on the UFC broadcast, I'd probably do it. That's like an experience of a lifetime. No doubt. Of course. So like, don't get on her for that. That's ridiculous. Like, some people just take it to the next levels of like, oh, why is she there? Why is she this and that? It's like, you don't know what the goals of the broadcast are, right? Like, if you're giving betting picks on a broadcast, the sportsbook wants to get their name out there. They want to drive engagement and they want to drive action at their sportsbook. People are like, will respond to Minty Bets and be like, oh, DraftKings isn't sponsoring any content that they deem sharp, or they don't want anyone sharp giving out picks on the UFC broadcast. They honestly don't even fucking consider that.
No, they do. That's why the Hammer Betting Network's not sponsored by DraftKings. It's too sharp.
There we go. But we work with recreational sports books, right? And there's sharp action on a lot of the shows that we do. We track our picks. There's an Edgework account on betstamp. There's a pick and roll account on betstamp.
Luke's Locks is in the green.
somehow Luke's Locks is in the green.
Johnny, have you seen the Edgework account? How we're doing, the NHL?
You guys are doing good, right?
Yeah, buddy.
The only account down, and I don't want to chirp him because he's just, I got to tell him that story too.
Hit the books.
Hit the books is in the red.
Hit the books is in the red. Kanish brought it down. Let's call it out for what it is. Brad,
do you have anything else to say on Minty? Otherwise, I got a good story with Kanish.
I do. Listen.
Sorry, go ahead.
When you put yourself out there, you're going to put yourself out there for criticism, and it's always going to happen. Like, honestly, search my name on Twitter and look at half the replies I get.
Search Rob Pizzola idiot. It's because some stuff's going to come up.
I just mute and move on. I don't see most of the stuff. And if it's a new person that created a new account or someone new, I just mute and I move on with my life because there's always going to be haters out there. So you can be upset for the tweet. I think that's fair because I think that you got to know better. If you're in that case, if you are going to portray yourself as a betting expert, you better be a betting expert. And it's okay to not do that, by the way. It's okay to produce content and say, like, you can be like Pat Mayo and be like, yeah, I like to bet. I don't necessarily win at betting, but we're going to have some fun. We're going to make entertaining content. And boom, and not everyone has to be a winner. Like, again, if this is, I'm going back to the same rant I have like once every 10 episodes. You don't have to be a winner. You don't have to be an expert. It's okay for you to respond to somebody and say, I don't know the answer to that. I do it all the time. People DM me questions and say, I don't know. I actually don't understand the math behind this. Maybe you should message Plus EV Analytics. Maybe you should message this person and point them in the right direction. It's okay to do that. But don't criticize her for taking basically a dream job for a lot of people. I'm not saying I don't know Minty at all. I've never met her. I don't think I've ever interacted with her. But that criticism is unfair, for one, because everybody would do that. And it's part of the job. And some people might say, they might have like a moral or ethical thing with that, right? Which is like, oh, you shouldn't be giving out picks if you're not a winner on the broadcast. That's unethical or whatever. That's more gray area and open to interpretation. I have no problem with Minty Bets being on a UFC broadcast, but she should probably be portrayed in like a real light rather than an expert. I think when you start calling people experts in the space, there's this connotation that's associated with that of they know exactly what they're talking about. And I actually think more recreational bettors should be incorporated into broadcasts, but it should be done in a way where people don't view them as like the be-all, end-all, go-to, this person knows everything about the sport. Yeah. That's not what it's about.
Yeah, no, I agree. And a lot of people get hate online, and especially in Twitter, it's like pretty toxic. And at the end of the day, like, those are just like, that's just the person. She's just doing her job. Like, why is everyone like hating on it? Like,
because some people think that they're above that. They're above doing that job. Really, they're above.
Literally tweeting at her from a burner account.
John,
behind a thing.
I've lived through this, and listen, you can tell me I was wrong or whatever. But when I was in my early 20s, when I was working at the Score, the first on-air gig that I got was a show called Covers Experts. Okay, I basically ran an infomercial for Covers handicappers at the time, most of whom were long-term losers, and I didn't know it. I didn't know any better. I was entering the space, and like I'm talking to these guys on a daily basis, and they can all talk the talk, right? You don't know when you're in your 20s. And that was an on-air gig for me. I would never have passed that up. I didn't know any better. And even if I did know any better at that time, I probably still would have done it. I'm just being real with the audience. Like, you want to you want to reach your goals. Like, you want to do it in a way that is ethical, obviously. But this is the space. If you turn down a gig like that, and I sympathize with some people because there's just going to be another 100 people, thousands of people lining up to take that spot, right? So the criticism of her being on the broadcast is unfounded. It's just, I have more criticism with the broadcast in general.
The broadcast itself?
Well, no, but how they portray the people that go on. Yeah. Like Johnny the Greek giving out picks. That guy's a fucking scammer. Like, through and through, a lifetime scammer. Gave out, Steam plays that already steamed for years. Like, that guy should not be portrayed as an expert. He should not be anywhere near a broadcast, in my opinion. Okay? And I know how he can talk and portray himself and whatever. He flat out scammed people for years. Plain and simple. Okay? So, do I blame him for going on the broadcast? No. You know, you're going to ask him, and he's like, fuck yeah, of course I'm going to do it. I love the UFC. I love to give out picks or whatever.
Probably getting paid pretty well, too.
Right. I'm not blaming him. It's on the UFC to run their broadcast properly. And I don't know what their goals are, but like, look in the mirror and maybe just find someone, like, even if they're not an expert in the space, you can have them on the broadcast. Just don't portray them as an expert in the space. Like, just what happened to just being real with the audience? Like, just be real with people. I don't understand why we have to turn everybody who is bet on sports at some point in their life into an expert on betting on sports.
Yep.
It's okay to talk about sports and not be an expert. It's fine. It's okay to talk about sports betting and not be an expert. Just the audience should know that. Like, why is that? Why is that hard? Is it the ego of the sports bettor where they're like, I can't admit that I'm a losing bettor or whatever? Like, I don't know what it is.
Well, I don't know if people would really like listen to them on sports betting if they didn't think that they were a winner. That's another thing, though.
Sure, but like, okay, look at Trent. Look at Trent. He's got 100.
You know what? I rescind my comment.
He's got 160K followers on Twitter. I don't even know what his TikTok is at or whatever. He's made that following off of making fun of himself for losing bets, for the most part. He does other things well, okay? That's one guy. He's built a sense of community with people, right? That resonates with people. Look at Barstool. Like the people who are betting the Barstool picks every week. You know, I love Big Cat. I think he's fucking great personality. He's hilarious, okay? Portnoy, like, do you think people are winning tailing these picks? They must realize that they're not winning tailing these picks over time, but it's not, it's like this sense of camaraderie amongst the group. We're going to win together. We're going to lose together. There's an appetite for that in the space. Big Cat's not going on broadcasts and portraying himself as an expert. You know,
I couldn't agree more.
So there's an appetite for that. I rescind
my earlier statement. You're right.
There's an appetite for that. There are people, though, that want to watch our YouTube channels and the Right Angle Sports YouTube channel and Unabated Sports and whatever, because there's an appetite for sharp content out there as well. For everyone that consumes content, it's a little bit different in what they're looking for. Yeah. Some people want to watch a 45-minute show because they want to get 4 or 5 good picks in that show. And they know that when they go bet them, they're probably going to get closing line value. They probably have a good chance to win them. There's another segment of the population that doesn't care for that 45-minute show. They want a 45-minute show where guys and girls are just being buds and chilling out and talking sports and firing off 1 million bets, and they're going to have a ton to cheer for tonight, and that's fine. There's an appetite for that. Just be real with the audience. That's it. That's it. People just should not be misled into believing that the content creator is something that they're not. That's why we track all of the stuff that we do on the Hammer. Every pick that's given out on a show, we track it in betstamp, because at any point, and we promote it, it's on the screen on every single show that we do. The bottom of the screen, the betstamp account where we track the picks. Because that way, someone who's tuning into the content can go and they can look through the entire history of those picks and say, maybe I should tail these. Maybe I should fade them. Maybe I should do nothing with this, but I find this show entertaining. You can make an informed decision.
That's quite literally the only way you should be able to do content with giving out picks, is by having some sort of accountability so that you're not scamming the people. I love that Pizzola does that, obviously, on the shows. It just adds, for me personally, like if I'm looking through a piece of content and I have no way to track what this person's record is, whatever, like there's no credibility in that. And then even a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, record to be found here. And then it's like, well, where's this season? This season's not here. This season's not here. Where was this bets? How do I know this was a stale line? All this shit. Like, we do it in a good way where it's live in the show. You can follow the account on Betstamp anyways, meaning that if you miss a show, you can still just, you don't have to always be constantly like, you know, if you miss a show from yesterday, you don't have to go back, check the picks, make sure they did everything legit. It's all legit. It's all there.
Exactly. We have our producers literally put them in real time. Exactly. As the pick is given out on the show, Zach, who does edge work and hosting, is putting in the pick, locking it in.
And a lot of times it's on the actual screen of the broadcast that's locked in.
You know, it's like crazy. Every single pick I give out on edge work is on that Edgework account. I expect to win at hockey in the long run. I think I've established myself as someone who can win on hockey, but every single pick I give on that show is on that account, and it's tracked. I track my NFL Sunday morning pizza buffet, powered by Pinnacle. I don't expect to win on that show. I put it in the bio, specifically of the show, because I don't want to mislead people into thinking that they're going to go there on Sunday at 12 noon and be able to take all the picks that I've locked in and then go and bet at Pinnacle into a $100,000 market and be able to win. I don't think I can personally do that. I have a negative ROI when I do that show on Sunday mornings over the course of the last 3 years since I've been tracking on betstamp. Does it bother me? No, because that's kind of the expectation. People still find value in that. Maybe not in the picks itself. Maybe in the breakdowns of the game. Maybe they still want a tail because they think that there's, what I'm saying might be something that can overcome the market in the long run. But ultimately, just be real. Just be real. If I was doing Monday morning NFL content, you'd probably see a different record, but I'm not. I'm tracking it on Sunday. I'm not there to say, I did this, I did that. That Sunday show is going to do this over a long period of time. And I mean, that's it. It's just being real with the audience. Just be real.
Yeah. A lot of you guys came after me after last episode with Fezzik there.
That was the most polarizing episode we ever did.
A lot of guys came after me. They're like, hey, this guy, like, you were so disrespectful to Fezzik. Like, listen, at the end of the day, I don't hide behind Twitter alias. I don't have my own Twitter. It's the only way I'm going to talk to the guy. Do it out in a public forum. Do I have an issue with the guy? Absolutely not. Do I believe that people are going to win by buying his picks? Absolutely not. So why am I not going to call him out on that instead of the same as like you guys, like hiding behind Twitter aliases, calling people out? Like, say it to his face. We figure it out. I didn't really think that he answered all the questions super well. Obviously, you guys heard my thoughts with it. I don't think the guy is a long-term losing bettor, but I also don't think the picks that he's going to sell are going to win. So, like, might as well have a discussion about that. It was all in good fun. We're buddy after the show. We're buddies. I talked to Fez. It's not.
We talked to him 20 minutes off air afterwards.
It's not anything. It's just like, hey, why can't we have a discussion on air without people saying Fez is a scumbag, or without people saying like, oh, Johnny's disrespectful, going hard on him. Like, plus also another thing Rob mentioned earlier, like Rob gets a lot of hate on Twitter, obviously. But
you're not used to it.
Oh no, I don't really care. I don't have Twitter. I don't really get to read much, to be honest. I don't see him unless like I go to actually check the show for some reason.
Well, I check the YouTube comments for every show I do every week, and like people are like, "No, don't do that. Don't do that." It's like, why? I honestly don't care.
I'd rather get the feedback.
Like exactly, the feedback is valuable no matter what. I might disagree. Somebody might say, "Oh, Rob, you let this guy off the hook," or "I didn't like you doing this. I didn't like you doing that." That's fine. It's all valuable to me. There's obviously a level of commentary that borders on disrespectful, where now I don't value that opinion anymore. You're going to come out and just call me a plain idiot or a fraud or whatever. Like that to me does not resonate with me. I don't want to see that. So I'm going to mute you. I'm going to move on with life. But I thought the comments were fair last week. Like some people will say,
a lot of people supported me though.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
We had way more support. Wait, there's like at least like 4-1 in terms of people who were supporting.
What I've noticed though, particularly, is our YouTube audience. So like our organic YouTube audience is very different from our YouTube
gambling
audience.
Twitter. Yeah.
So from our Twitter audience. So we have a certain number of views that I know on a week, the percentage of views that comes from our Twitter. When we tweet out the links and whatever and it comes in, then we have a bunch of organic YouTube, people that have found us through YouTube, and they're very different audiences, and you can see that because there's the Twitter group of people that watched the Fezzik episode wanted Fezzik to get sewered.
Yeah, they wanted me to go more hard at it.
Why
don't you say all this other stuff?
For years, there's been a collection of people that they don't respect Fezzik. They have problems with him. So they wanted to see us drag him through the mud. I speak my mind. I don't conduct interviews like that. I can if I'm very, very passionate about something. But that audience wanted to see that. The YouTube audience wanted to see like a more generic interview about this guy is a bettor, what he does, this and that. And you're not going to be able to cater to everyone at all times. We'll never be able to do that. But I never watch interviews back. I watched it back a couple days ago, Saturday, day before the Super Bowl. I thought it was a freaking good episode, man.
Yeah, we got a lot of good feedback.
It was like I think that we do good interviews, personally.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, a few other things for the audience members, because I did read. I was able to take a look at some more comments this week, given that this episode from Fezzik generated so much buzz. But yeah, obviously, like, listen, we do this podcast for fun. At the end of the day, Rob and I literally do it because we're like, hey, we get to bring on cool people that we like. We get to shoot the shit. It's a good chance for Rob and I to catch up once a week, and even sometimes in these episodes, have a discussion. Like, sure, I talk to Rob, nearly every day, but usually it's about something specific. I don't really just message him like, hey, you got like what are your 6 bets for the Super Bowl?
Right.
So it's really good that we can actually even just have these chats. But for the most part, we do it for fun. So yeah, obviously we're open to any feedback on like how to improve it. But at the end of the day, like if this is going to become a podcast where like we got to be like corporate and have to start doing it, we're not going to do it. Like,
that's not either of us. I mean, listen, I'll toe the line in how I deliver a message. I'll always do that, right? Like I don't want people to feel offended or hear something and take it in the wrong way. So I deliberately, for the most part, try to think about what I'm going to say before I say it. Now there are episodes where I just go off. That tweet that girl sent me about sports betting and the NFL, basically the NFL would exist that just set me spinning, and I probably didn't rationalize or process my thoughts before I actually said that. But you again to circle back, I wanted to use circle in there. The true professional radio move right there. To circle back, it's about being real with the audience. You don't have to deliver the message in a way that's going to offend everyone or what. Just be real with people. And like, I'm not going to come on here. We sponsored content, Pinnacle. I bet at Pinnacle. It's a sports book that I'm happy to promote or whatever. But like, I'm not sheltered from saying things about other sports books. If Pinnacle did people harm in any way or whatever, I wouldn't even stray from talking about that. It's being real with what's going on in the betting space, helping educate people, bringing on guests that not necessarily are going to provide value to everyone, but like some of the interviews we do are for entertainment purposes. Jeff Benson, JJ. That just came together. It's an idea. These guys have been beefing on Twitter. Let's bring them together and have them
fun.
Of course. We try to have fun with it. So I'm all about continuous improvement. We say this, Johnny, you messaged me with a thread once from someone who built up a really large YouTube channel where one of the steps in the thread was like, on a monthly basis, just try to think of do something that's a little bit different than the month before to progress your channel. And I think about that and like, what would the audience want to see? But I never stray from being real with people. And I think that hopefully we've seen it with the growth of this channel and the listenership. I'm an analytical person. I check the numbers every week. Starting to build an audience of people that are outside of the people that knew of us beforehand. And it's refreshing because I think being real with people ultimately resonates with people.
Yeah, I agree. We're trying our best here. Another criticism that I've been getting recently is like I'm on my phone and stuff during the podcast and like.
Well, he has ADHD.
Yeah, so but it's not even that. Like people don't really understand. It's like
we film this in real time. Like we have stuff going on.
It's hard. It's hard to. Like, you guys got to realize, like, obviously don't get paid to do the podcast. Like we do it with Rob.
He's not calling me cheap, by the way. He's volunteered to not get paid.
No, it's our podcast. We do it. Like it's not like I'm getting paid for this. And even if I was, like, it wouldn't be my full-time job that I'm gonna just like come here and whatever. So I'm obviously running stuff throughout the day and just going on. And I think what a lot of people don't really realize is sometimes, with traveling and other things and meetings, like Rob and I can't always we have to meet up in person to get this, and it doesn't always come to fruition where we can meet up every single week. So sometimes we'll run 2 episodes in one day. For example, last week with the Fezzik one, we actually had recorded that the week prior. So we recorded the Super Bowl episode.
Yep.
We recorded that one. The Super Bowl one ran about 2 hours. By the time we actually sit, Rob and I shoot the shit. Zach sets up. We do it probably in here 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And then after that, We get Fezzik. By the time we actually get him on, start the thing, explain to him, here's how it goes, set up his audio. Then after it's done, usually 20 minutes, usually chatting off there. Yeah, with the guests. Like, hey, how was that? Whatever. By the time it was all done, like that day, for example, like probably in here about 5 hours, if not more, straight. Like, I can't just take 5 hours, not be on my phone, not be on my computer. There's stuff going on. And depending on the time in which we record, there's a lot of people that count on me for different stuff. So I do apologize. Obviously, I tell the guests this in advance too. I say, like, listen, like we're here. Like, it's a key time. I may have to, do something while we're on. Like, don't think of it as a disrespect. I try to do it usually when Rob's talking, not derail anything, but it is what it is. Like, if I can't take that and be able to check, then like I wouldn't be able to do the podcast.
Anyways, what Johnny's saying, like, appreciate you saying that, by the way, but we value the feedback anyways. So it's always open. Obviously there's reasons that we do things sometimes, which, I mean, if it bothers you, it bothers you. Like, we're not going to be able to please everybody all the time. That's the reality of the situation, but we're always open to feedback. If you do like the content, smash the like button on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel as well. It does help us a lot. If you listen to this in audio form, rate and review 5 stars. We have the Twitter account at Circles Off as well, where we always see that feedback. YouTube comments, we always see that feedback. Just deliver more and more of it. And if there's stuff that you'd like to see come back, if there's things you don't like about the show, it's all valuable to us. There is a planning process in this. It's not just whim to whim, like we're going to have this guy on, this guy finally. There's a planning process into how we do everything to try to keep it seasonal, informative, fresh, everything like that. So all the feedback is valuable. Provide it. And if you do like the content, smash that like button as well.
And we appreciate everyone. I'm just checking our Spotify right now, 432 5-star reviews. The support, and that's just Spotify. It doesn't even include Apple.
Only 100 of those are Pizzolas as well.
Rob's family, Rob's bot accounts.
Johnny, one last thing for you. You brought it up. You didn't say it. Knish story?
Yeah. So it's just a good reminder for everyone. Whenever you suffer a treacherous beat and you think, how did I just lose that? That is the worst beat in the entire world. Just a reminder for everyone. There is somebody on the other side that just suffered, that just got
the best win,
the greatest win.
Oh yeah.
And you oftentimes, like, listen, we know how it is. The loss typically hurts more than the success that you'll get in the win and the feeling of the win. In this situation, I experienced a few weekends ago what I would dub the second greatest betting win of my life, all encompassing. And what I factor in by that is, like, being at the event live is a necessity in order for it to be a greatest win. You got to be there live. You know what I mean? Like, obviously watching on TV, whatever. But if you're at the event live and then you get the win, that's just like a prerequisite for me. So at the event live, it's a factor between the unlikeliness of the comeback or the event, the amount of money bet, all that stuff kind of factored into one. Maybe like I have a little score in my mind. So I've evaluated this one as the second greatest event win I've ever had. It was NHL All-Star Game, the final game. I believe it was like Central versus Atlantic, something like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
I had the over in the game, 11.5, and a few lower numbers too, but 11.5 to win them all. Joey Knish, I see him tweet, worst beat ever in my entire life. It's going to take me ages to get over this one. This is the worst beat ever. All right. Now, I was obviously on the other side of that. Knish, very sorry that happened to you. I actually messaged him personally and said, listen, buddy, sorry that happened. Just want to let you know, listen, for every one of these, there's a guy on the other side. At least you know it didn't go underappreciated. I was actually there. I enjoyed it. It didn't go underappreciated. You'll be on the other side of the next one. I'll be at home. I'll have the opposite side of the Lions. You'll be at the game. It'll even out, buddy. Don't worry.
That's a classy move by you, because when I know that I won a bet that was opposite of him, I send him a screenshot and I say, like, get fucked, buddy. Like that. Really try to rattle him in the moment. But that's
but for those of you who don't know what the bet is, All-Star Game, they do a 3-on-3 format. NHL All-Star Game, they do a 3-on-3 format. It's typically they try a little bit harder now, because if you win, the winning team splits like $1 million. So again, to these players, they're all making more money than that. So it's not like an astronomical amount, but it still is an amount of money. You buy a new car, something like that. So they do try. 3-on-3, 1 period, 20-minute period. Or sorry, 2 10-minute periods they do. So first and second period, 10 minutes each, 20-minute game total. Full 3-on-3. They seldom call any penalties or anything like that. I had the over 10.5 in the game. First game had gone, I believe, under. The second game went over. This game starts off, no scoring, dead. At the end of the first period, it was 3-0 for one of the teams, and they typically clamp down in the second. Yeah. So it was just drawn dead. Anyways, I think it goes 3-1, 4-1. At that period, at that time, it's like it's dead. It's 4-1. There's no more than 2 minutes left in the whole game. So there's 5 goals. They rip off 7 goals in the final 1 minute and 20 seconds of the game. Could not have ever imagined getting 7 goals. It's over 1 goal for every, like literally a goal per 10 seconds. Almost.
Yep.
It was Pasternak on a breakaway scores. Then off the faceoff, they go rip another goal. Face-off, go rip another goal. And the whole time I'm there, I'm at the game like, it's dead. It's dead. It's dead. It's just like, don't even, this bet is dead. I'm not even going to try to think. Because you're always in your mind, you end up at the half. You're like, okay, it's 3-zip. Maybe we get a little bit high scoring.
Yourself of ways.
3 empty netters.
Yeah.
At first you start, you're like, maybe I get 2 empty netters, because you can always get 2 empty netters. And then you're like, I think I might need 3 empty netters. And then you're like, can I get 3 empty netters and 1 goal back the other way? But link the highlights to this, Zach. I think Sportsnet had the highlights.
Will do.
If you guys want to just see how the craziness, you got to just actually watch the highlights. But to spoil it, there was 7 goals in the last minute 20, including a missed penalty shot, which also just like, as soon as I got the penalty shot, I'm like, oh my God, if they get this penalty shot plus 2 more, I win. And then he missed the penalty shot. I'm like, dead. Scores off the face-off. I still got to order a jersey. I'm not the guy who typically does that, but for this event, like I feel like I got to do it. I got to just get the jersey.
And for the viewers and listeners out there, you can message Joey Kanish 22 on Twitter and tell him how much of a loser he is for trying to go head to head with a couple Canadians in hockey betting.
A couple Canucks.
Come on, Kanish.
McKinnon scores with about 15 seconds left, and then I think it was Cale Makar in the final 10 seconds. 7 seconds left, scores to put it to 12. It was without a doubt unlikely. One of the most unlikely things you'll ever see. And just to be there live, I was beside a guy who I was selling with, even though he didn't have a bet. Sounded identical to Spanky. He was also from the same place as Spanky.
Got it.
So he was like, why you celebrating for? I'm like, oh, I got to bet on the game. He's like, wow, you could bet on this stuff? Identical to our man Spanky. That's the accent, I guess, that they have over there in Jersey City. But love on that. Sorry about that, Kanish. You'll get the next one, I'm sure, and then message it back to me, and we'll share there. But yeah, figured I'd tell that story. Everyone remember, when you get a bad beat, it sucks, but there's someone on the other end. So, when you get a good beat now, like I'm set for the year. Like all my bad beats now, I'm sweeping them under the rug. Like, whatever, I got that NHL.
It's all going to balance out over time unless you're Ben the better, in which case it just won't. And you keep losing in horrific fashion.
Yeah.
Once I saw Eagles Super Bowl, I honestly thought about betting the Chiefs Super Bowl just for a recreational bet.
Did Ben bet the Eagles?
Yeah.
Oh my God. He does it, eh? He does it again.
The
kid doesn't stop.
He does it again. This has been Circles Off, episode number 89. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Circles Off YouTube channel. Rate and review 5 stars. We'll catch everyone next week. We're going to get into some college basketball betting content over the remainder of February. Peace out, everyone.
This is what I love and can't stop loving. Get wasted again from 9 till 7 in the morning. I live for gambling, rolling blunts, feeling high, getting loaded or take some pills and go to La La Land. Spending all my money on gambling and extreme high price pizza.
Yeah, 1, 2, 1, 2.
But in the end, it's all worth it. I like to live in my own world. Fuck regular life, fuck a 9-to-5 job. I'm told to enjoy every moment, every hour, every minute. And that's what I do on Fridays and Saturdays. Why should I take life so seriously?
Yeah.
I just want to do what I like to do. Being far from reality, because I can't stand society. This is my own world. I just want to win my bets. I think the whole system fucking sucks.
Freaks on E, that's what we fuck, man.
Everybody's working their fucking ass off during the week, getting totally fucking stressed out. So what's wrong and what's right? I live for gambling. I live for hard styles. I live for glory. Come on, let's go! just wanna win my bets.
This is what I love and can't stop loving.
Extreme
Get
high
wasted
price
at
pizza.
parties from 9 till 7 in the morning. I live for the music, rolling blunts, feeling high, getting loaded, or
Take
take
some
some
pills
pills
and
and
go
go
to
to
La
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 Land.
Land. Spending all my money on dope and extreme high price tickets, but in the end it's all worth it. I like to live in my own world. Fuck regular life.
Fuck a 9-to-5 job.
I'm told to enjoy every moment, every hour, every minute. That's what I do on Fridays and Saturdays. Why should I take life so seriously? I just want to do what I like to do, be it far from reality, cause I can't stand society. It's my own world. I just want to hear the music.
I like to live in my own world.
I think the whole system fucking sucks. Everybody's working their fucking ass off during the week, getting totally fucking stressed out. So what's wrong and what's right? I live for the weekend. I live for hard styles. I live for hard style, baby.
Come on, let's go!